Stephen Wellesley Brittas, you are charged that you did on the 13th of November 1992 murder Julio Escobedo, Eduardo Ramirez, Juan Mendoza, Robert Penchard, Ian Traherne, also known as Big Gary, and Raymond Watts.
It's all a misunderstanding.
That you did also have in your possession controlled drugs of Class A, namely 5 kilos of heroin and an unknown quantity of amphetamines, contrary to Section 4 of the Misuse of Drugs Act 1971.
I've explained all that.
And that you did unlawfully cause grievous bodily harm to Alice Whiteley, Grace Beattie, Agnes Swinton and Doreen Laverne Smith, all of the Whitbury Newtown Sunshine Retirement Home, contrary to the Offences Against the Person Act of 1861.
Now, that was just a mistake.
Do you understand the charges?
Well, no. I mean, this is all a complete mystery to me. As I was saying earlier...
Do you understand the meaning of the charges, Mr. Brittas?
Well, I understand the words.
In that case, I must ask you to tell the court how you plead.
Well, I don't think I should plead anything at all. This is all wrong. It shouldn't be happening.
Just tell us whether you plead guilty or not guilty.
Well, not guilty, obviously.
Thank you.
Except possibly for the old ladies.
Members of the jury, the main facts of this case are not in dispute. On the day in question, the police arrived at Whitbury Newtown Leisure Centre to find the lifeless bodies of 7 men lying outside the squash courts, one of whom had been beheaded by the accused.
I keep telling you that was an accident.
To understand the circumstances that lie behind these extraordinary events, I must take you back to Whitbury Newtown Leisure Centre on what at first seemed to be a perfectly normal autumn day. A Friday. Friday the 13th.
Carol, have a solvent, please.
It's no good, Mr. Brittas.
Pardon?
She's in a trance. I think she's having another vision.
Well, do you think we could wake her up, Colin? I need a solvent.
I don't think that would be wise, Mr. Brittas.
No, not more blood in here, not in here, please.
Colin, the Borough Council employs Carol because of her skills as a receptionist, not because she claims to see into next week with an eye in the middle of her forehead. Wake her up, will you?
I think she's coming round now, Mr. Brittas.
Where am I? Oh, Mr. Brittas, how can I help you?
Could I have a solvent, please, Carol?
Yes, of course, Mr. Brittas. I'm sorry, I just got these pictures inside my head.
I think you'll find it's in the bottom drawer.
I saw danger, terrible danger from a distant land.
I think she's warning of some disaster, Mr. Brittas.
We don't need to look to distant lands to find a disaster around here, Colin. I thought you were supposed to be sawing logs.
I'm just on my way. Mr. Brittas?
What is it now?
You've got a telephone stuck to your ear, Mr. Brittas.
I'm aware of that, Colin. That's why I was asking Carol for the solvent. Carol!
Yes, Mr. Brittas. He's, back then, is he, Mr. Brittas?
So it would appear.
What are you going to do, Mr. Brittas?
About the maniac with a tube of super glue, Colin? Or about finding myself a deputy manager with a brain cortex?
I meant about the warning. These men from a distant land.
I don't know how many times I've got to tell you, Colin, these visions are not real. They're a figment of Carol's imagination, aren't they, Carol?
Yes, Mr. Brittas.
There is no distant land, there are no men.
They're back again, Mr. Brittas.
Who?
The Bolivians. They're in the changing rooms and I still don't like the look of them.
Why didn't you like the look of them, Miss Lancing?
It's hard to say. Little things. They book squash courts but never actually play. And they always brought bags of kit with them but they never actually got changed. And I remember once hearing one of them say, "It's perfect, isn't it? Nobody ever comes here." Frankly, I thought they were up to something.
And then he told you to get a box and look for lost property.
Yes. I think he was a bit upset about the glue business.
Glue?
There's someone in the centre who doesn't like Mr. Brittas. They've been putting glue on things that they know he'll pick up.
I see. So having told you not to worry about the men in the changing rooms, he then went straight down there himself.
Yes. It was about the time that he'd normally do a lavatory inspection.
Yes, pine freshener, possibly a little strong, but overall impression not bad.
Thank you, Mr. Brittas.
But surface gloss isn't everything, Gavin. It's the attention to detail that counts, such as, did we clean behind the cisterns?
So what?
So often overlooked, but just the sort of place where an unsightly splash can harbour... What's this?
Well, it looks like the key to one of the lockers, Mr. Brittas.
Number 124.
Shall I go and find out whose it is?
Think, Gavin, think.
I was thinking, Mr. Brittas. I thought if we found out whose it was, we could give it back to them.
But how would we know if it was the right person? I mean, anyone can say, oh, yes, number 124. What a duffer I am. That's mine. As you may one day learn, young Gavin Featherly, not everyone in this world is as honest as you or I. Perhaps you'd like to take that to my office, please.
Yes, Mr. Brittas.
Then the person claiming it has only to prove some detailed knowledge of its contents, complete the necessary paperwork, pay the administration costs, and their property shall be returned. What could be simpler?
Yes, Mr. Brittas.
So Mr. Brittas walked straight into the cubicle and picked up the key.
Yes. He just found it there.
Just found it. Of course. And having told you not to attempt to find the owner of the case, he asked you to take it up to his office.
Yes.
Is that where lost property is normally taken?
Well, no, but...
But what?
I'm sure he had a reason.
Oh, I'm sure he had, Mr. Featherly. Tell me, do you know what was in the case?
Well, I did have a quick look.
And?
It was £650,000 in £10 notes.
You at all?
What?
I wondered if there's some sort of problem. If it's toilet paper, we do always keep a spare roll.
No, I was just, I'm fine.
Excuse me? You're not Edward Barrett by any chance, are you?
Why?
I knew it. You're the one who's holding up my squash competition.
You're what?
The Whitbury Newtown Squash Tournament. We were hoping to have finished it by Friday.
I don't know, I was in a tournament.
Ah, that's what they all say. But if you'd read your original application form, you would have noticed that you were automatically entered when you joined the centre.
I'm in the final. How did I get the final?
You've been rather lucky, haven't you? You had some buys in the earlier rounds and some in the later rounds, by the look of it.
The final? Hey, that's not bad, is it?
Indeed. The question is, when can you play? How about now?
Now?
Yes.
Well,
that's what you came in for, isn't it? A game of squash?
Well, yeah.
I happen to know your opponent is in the building at this very moment. I'll give you court number 4. Don't forget your racket.
All right.
Timothy, you'll be pleased to hear that I have completed my inspection, was pleasantly impressed.
Oh, good.
Just one little worry about crevices.
Sorry?
As I was explaining to Gavin earlier, it's not just the bits we see, Tim, it's the little bits that get behind. Take, for example, cisterns. Now, things can get behind them, and when unsightly splashes get... What is this?
Oh, it looks like one of the locker keys, Mr. Brittas.
I can see that, Tim.
Shall I ask who it belongs to?
No, thank you. As I was explaining to your compadre earlier this morning, the snag with that... Good Lord. You think they were breeding in there?
And you've no idea what was in the case?
No.
No. Because you weren't allowed to find whose key it was. You weren't allowed to open the locker. And Mr. Brittas took the case upstairs to his office.
Yes.
One more question, Mr. Whistler. When you came into the changing room, where exactly was Mr. Brittas?
He was standing at the notice board talking to one of the customers.
I believe you told the police that he had his arm around the man's shoulder.
Yes.
Which would imply, would it not, that they were friends?
Not necessarily.
No.
Well, they could have just found they really liked each other. It happens sometimes.
Right, lost property forms. Julie, could you get Carol to come to my office with the solvent, please? Julie? Hello, Julie?
Oh, good morning, Mrs. Brittas. I'm sorry, but I just had another one of my visions.
Oh, dear.
There was blood this time, blood dripping down from the wall.
In the centre?
It was terrible, Mrs. Brittas. There were dead bodies everywhere.
My husband wasn't one of them, was he? Sorry? Oh, just the thought. Carol, you don't actually believe all this, do you?
It seems terribly real, Mrs. Brittas.
Yes, but it's just your imagination, that the whole thing is
just my imagination.
Yes. Look, Carol, I really came in to ask if Gordon had prescription.
Oh, Gordon, with you as soon as I can, my darling. Carol, can I have the solvent, please?
Yes.
I just wondered if he'd managed to pick up my prescription from the chemist, Gordon.
All safely upstairs, my love. I'll get it for you as soon as I can, all right?
It's all right, I'll get it. Is it on your desk?
In my briefcase, yeah. What's this?
I think it belongs to Colin, Mrs. Brittas.
Oh, I don't believe it. Colin, can you come out here, please? Now, Colin.
Sorry, Mr. Brittas. I was just syringing my ears. I felt this slight irritation, you see, and it's just as well I noticed because I appear to have flushed out a couple of woodlice.
One thing at a time, please, Colin. I believe you've been using that.
That's right, Mr. Brittas. And as soon as I've done the other ear...
You leave an unsupervised chainsaw in a public area?
Well,
Supposing some small child came in here, mistook it for part of his Fisher-Price woodworking set, ran off into tumble-tops to show his friends. You'd have a carnage on your hands, wouldn't you?
I never thought of that, Mr. Brittas.
Take it straight up to my office, please, where I can make sure it's locked safely away.
Right, Mr. Brittas.
Hello? Yes. It's your wife, Mr. Brittas.
Hello, my darling.
Gordon, these pills are all for me, are they? And there's no label.
That's right, my love, yes. The doctor said take one whenever you feel you need to.
Right.
And if you run out, he'll give you some more in a couple of weeks, all right?
Great.
Were these the pills your husband left for you, Mrs. Brittas?
Yes, I think so.
And you presumed that they were a prescription to relieve your depression?
Well, yes. I thought the doctor had finally got it right. They were the first ones that ever really worked.
These pills were retrieved from the Brittas bathroom, my lord. And analysis has shown they are a particular amphetamine known on the street as uppers. Tell me, Mrs. Brittas, would you describe your husband as a wealthy man?
Well, not really. He gets a bonus on his salary for every 100 people through the doors.
And the bonus last year?
I don't think there was one last year.
Which is why I find myself asking how your husband could have afforded that rather nice coat that you're wearing.
He didn't buy me this. No, this was a present. This bedridden uncle, Uncle Simon, he gave it to me.
Did he also give you the Mercedes convertible in which you drove to court this morning?
Oh, that's just been lent to me. It's been collected this morning.
By your Uncle Simon?
Well, I don't know if he can manage.
Mrs. Brittas. No more questions, madam.
You may step down, Mrs. Brittas.
Yes. It's just if you finished with the pills, could I have them back?
You are Mr. Brittas' secretary?
Afraid so.
And on the day in question, did the defendant ask you to bring a Mr. Barrett to his office?
Yes. I eventually found him outside the gym, making a phone call.
Well, the merchandise has gone, but there's no money. No, that's it. There wasn't a key. Bernie's checking it now, but he thinks they might be pulling a fast one. He reckons a bit of heavy artillery might be in order.
you're wanted.
Later. What?
Mr. Brittas wants to see you in his office.
What for?
He wants to give you a cup.
Ta-da!
This is for me.
Fairly won, Mr. Barrett. My congratulations.
And I can keep it.
Take it home. Put it on the mantelpiece. Build a little display cabinet for it.
The Whitbury Newtown Squash Champions Trophy.
Yes, indeed. Now, while we're sailing on this particular tack, Mr. Barrett...
Cup.
Here you are, the town's champion squash player. I just wondered if you'd ever thought of using that position to help others.
Sorry?
I mean, it's all very easy for us with our cosy middle-class lives, Edward. But we have to remember, not all the kids out there have the advantages of you and me.
Hey?
If we could just bring them in here, and with champions like you to attract them, I know we could. Can you imagine what miracles might happen?
Miracles?
The smile on the face of a child when he takes those first hesitant strokes across the pool. The look on someone's face when they win a trophy for the first time and realise that life's a little bit more than hanging around street corners, getting involved in drugs and petty crime. See what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It can happen, Edward, but we need you to help. I have this dream. A dream that leisure centres all over the land... Excuse me. Brittas. I'll be right down. Excuse me, Edward. Duty calls. Bear it in mind, though.
Comprende. ¿Qué pasa?
Morning, gentlemen.
Mr. Brittas, these are the men.
Yes, I can see that, thank you, Carol. How can I help you?
We are finding the squashy court.
Good. You haven't been here before, I take it.
Friends, we're meeting in the squashy court.
Mr. Brittas, you don't understand.
What is it, Carol?
Mr. Brittas, these are the men I saw in my vision with the dead bodies.
They look perfectly healthy to me. Just give them the tickets, will you? That's 40 pence, please, gentlemen. Let's go.
Ah, Mr. Mendoza. I brought along two of your friends. Now, they say they're only going to watch, but if they're tempted to play, you tell me and I'll organise some rackets, all right? Well, enjoy your game, gentlemen, and watch out for that back wall. They come off it like bullets sometimes. Brought some more supporters, I see, Mr. Watts.
You what? Oh, yeah. Have you seen Eddie?
Oh, you mean Mr. Barrett? Of course, you'll need him for your foursome, won't you? Tell you what, if I see him, I'll tell him you're looking for him, OK?
This is all the lost property I could find, Mr. Brittas.
Ah, thank you, Laura.
Carol's just told me about the men who've arrived. Are they up there?
They are indeed, preparing to battle it out on the squash courts as we speak.
And you're not worried?
Why should I be worried? Those are precisely the sort of people we want in here, Laura. None of your scruffy trainers and rude T-shirts. Those are business people in suits and ties.
You really can see nothing wrong?
No, I can't. It's what I always hoped would happen. They're even bringing their friends in now.
You're the manager, Mr. Brittas. I just thought we should keep an eye on them, but... What's that?
What?
That noise.
Sounds like a moped with a badly adjusted carburettor. Probably Helen going home. Look, I'll put this away. You go and grab yourself a cup of coffee and a flapjack.
Thank you, Mr. Brittas.
Women, worry, worry, worry.
Mr. Brittas?
You've seen another body, have you, Carol? Jolly good. What I suggest you do is go and make yourself a nice mug of warm milk. And by the time you come back, all the dead bodies will have gone away. Happy now? Well, go and do it anyway. Come on, punk, make my day.
Is everything all right, Mr. Brittas?
Ah, Linda.
A remarkable shot, wouldn't you say?
Yes, and he was hardly looking when he fired it.
Your employer would appear to be an accomplished marksman, Miss Perkin.
Mr. Brittas is good at all sorts of things.
As the forensic evidence has shown, my lord, the bullets retrieved from the office wall matched those in the bodies of 3 of the dead men, and all were fired by the gun found in the defendant's possession. Did your employer explain why he had a gun in his office?
Yes, he said he'd found it in lost property.
Miss Lansing has given evidence that there was no gun in the lost property box when she gave it to Mr. Brittas just 10 minutes before.
Yes, I know.
Is there some explanation for this, would you say?
Yes.
And what would that be?
I don't know, but I'm sure he had one. Mr. Brittas always does.
Thank you, Miss Perkin. One last question. Did you happen to see a chainsaw in Mr. Brittas' office?
Yes, I think I did.
1 gun, white powder, £650,000. Right, lost property forms. Colin. Julie! Julie! Whitby Newtown Leisure Centre, how can I help you? Colin, the very person. What? How many? I'm on my way.
Me, for God's sake, before I hurt someone. Those were his exact words?
Yes.
Did you phone the police?
I tried to. Sorry. But Mr. Brittas had cut the machine in half. All the lines were dead.
And what did Mr. Brittas do then?
He just ran off down the corridor.
Arm out, and the left leg out.
Good God, Colin, what have you done?
They're all dead, Mr. Brittas!
What?
I'm trying to get through to the police, but they're pulling all the phone!
He's all right, Laura, I've cut the line!
There's one inside on the floor here, Mr. Brittas. He might still be alive.
Right, let's get the door open!
What?
You'll have to speak up, Mr. Brittas. I think it must be the chainsaw.
Let's get the door open! Get a sledgehammer! Get a saw! Right, stand back, both of you! We'll soon know if he's all right. Just the last cut.
Hello, darling. I brought you some sausage rolls.
I'm a bit off sausages at the moment, my love.
How do you think it's going?
What?
Oh, I don't think it's all bad, do you?
No?
I mean, what have they got? I mean, apart from circumstantial evidence, I mean, they haven't got a motive, have they? I mean, why would you want to kill all those people?
I think they thought the money.
Money? Money?
They've got the gun, the bodies, the drugs, the fingerprints.
Oh, I'm sure it'll all turn out all right.
You know what hurts the most, Helen? That prosecutor saying that a man like me should never have been given a position of trust in the community. To see everything you've devoted your life to just get thrown back in your face.
Oh, come on, Gordon. Never say die. Perhaps the judge will make it look better when he does his summing up.
So, members of the jury, you may decide to believe the defendant when he says he stumbled across the drugs and the money as the result of a lavatory inspection, and that when he decapitated Mr. Ramirez, he was merely trying to get through a door in order to administer first aid. If, on the other hand, you find it easier to believe, as the prosecution does...
Stop! Stop! I have to speak. I was there. I saw what happened.
Well, why didn't you come forward and say all this before?
Well, I know I should have done, my lord, but I suppose I was scared of going to prison for 20 years or being murdered by me gang mates. I can't hide anymore. I cannot stand by and watch an innocent man suffer. Not after what he's given me.
What has he given you, Mr.
A sense of worth as a human being, my lord. Dignity. The knowledge that I don't have to spend the rest of my life in the gutter. That I can use my talents to help others. I've spent the last 6 months in a leisure centre in Wincanton, teaching small children to swim, coaching adolescents at badminton, helping others find the path to self-fulfilment that this man offered me. He showed me what life can be like. He's given me a dream.
Yes. Oh, my God.
Ladies and gentlemen, the first and foremost thing is that it's a super verdict.
We had to let him go, David.
I know. It's just there are some cases you really hate to lose.
I know.
Do you know that man barred my children from the leisure centre? Just because he found one of them chewing gum. I thought he'd get 30 years at least.
There's more than one way to skin a cat, David.
Come on, my darling, off we go. Further questions will be answered at a later date. All right, come on, my darling, in you go. There we are.
My entire family were barred because I forgot to use the footbath. A present for you, and a suggestion. No one's done the lavatory seat in the executive washroom. Goodbye.
Not so fast, Colleen.